Hey, this is Ralph, and in this video I want to talk to you a little bit about the 60-30-10 rule for color palettes. Okay, now I'm not directly referring you to this slide, to this presentation for our Module 4 topic of web design, but I am going to reference this particular slide here on choosing a color scheme. And I don't seem to emphasize these ratios over here. I mean, there's a little image, but that's what I want us to think about for this one. And we're going to create a little web page to basically see that we are following this particular guideline. So the 60-30-10 rule. Most of your website is 60% of your website is going to be one base color. And it could, and unfortunately in this example here, they show this bright orange. That's probably not going to be it. Your base color, and which they're saying primary here, very well could be a white or off-white, or it could be a dark, dark blue or dark gray or something. If you're going dark or light, it's the primary light or dark color, and very likely your body background and also the backgrounds for sections of text and things like that too. 30% of your colors are going to be some secondary color. It doesn't have to be gray. It'll just be some other color. And then only 10% of your website is going to be that accent color. Now, the way I know of these is, consider base and then primary and then secondary, but just so we know, only 3 colors. So we're going to construct a small website shell using the 60-30-10 rule. Well, actually, more importantly, we're going to create a color bar that we can put onto our websites just to kind of compare our color ratio with things that we have going on. That's going to make more sense when I get there. But what I'm envisioning, and I haven't done this yet, I'm envisioning us being able to look at our web page that we've created and put a div on there that's going to display our 60-30-10 color bar right on the web page. And as we scroll up and down, the bar will stay right there. And we'll see if we can honestly say that we are using the 60-30-10 rule. So, and I want us to be able to put this on any web page that we're creating, temporarily, of course, just to do a comparison. I'm looking at OSU Cascade just to kind of get a feel for this. And we might say, okay, the white is going to be their 60% primary color. And maybe this gray is their 30% secondary color, and then the OSU orange would be their 10% accent color. Now, of course, there's no practical way to just look at a page and get the exact numbers. It's just a ballpark. But if we look at it, and of course ignore photos. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. Now, before we start off, I want to get a brand new color palette. I'm going to head over to coolers.co. Close that, start the generator, and let's go. Oh, I don't need a tutorial. We'll just close that. And I can just hit my space bar and I can get a nice mix of colors. So let's see, I'm going to go for, I'm just kind of clicking, I'm looking for a light, okay, perfect. I'm going to go for baby powder over here. So I'm going to lock down this one. There's a little padlock. And then I want a kind of a supporting color. Actually, this beige. I'm going to go with this beige. So I've got my primary color, which is going to be this off-white. Then I've got my secondary color. Perfect. Now I want an accent. Something bright that'll stand out to the visitor. Plum has potential. Do I like that? I'm going to go ahead and lock it in and just kind of cycle through. Ooh, I like tomato. Tomato could be pretty cool. I feel like I do a lot of that though. Any kind of tangerine, that looks pretty cool. I don't know what I want, but something kind of bright orange, bright green. That's certainly a bright orange. Ooh, that bright red looked good. I can't go back on this. That's too bad. I don't think I can go back easy enough. Oh wait, what is this? Undo. Engineering orange. That's the one I want. I'm going to lock that one down. Now, I only want 3 colors, so I don't need these other 2 over here. So what I could do is I could remove the color, but I've got my colors pretty well right here, so I'm just going to do a little print screen, and I am going to manually just take a picture. There we go. Open an image editor. There we go. So now I've got my colors right there, and I've got the little hex codes form and stuff like that. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do a file. I'll do a save as, and let's see. This is going to go into my T7. It's going to go to my working folder. It's going to go to my 195, and I'll stick it in images. And I'm going to go ahead and just call this color palette 1. Who knows? You may end up having several color palettes for different projects, but that's color palette 1. I do this all the time, right? You're working on a website. You just want to have this information handy so that you can refer to it. You're not going to go crazy with colors on websites unless they're like for like little kid websites or something. And we're not typically making little kid websites in our class. I'm going to move this off to the side. Coolers.co has done its job. By the way, you can create an account at this particular website, a free account, and you can save your color palettes in there if you so choose. I've done that before, but I typically just go to the website, get the color palette that I want, take a picture of it, screen capture, and I kind of archive that. So that's kind of like my record of the color that I got in question. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. All right, I'll close my Gmail. Let's try to clean up a little bit here. I don't know what. That's a Canvas. It's a student website. Let's close that. And yeah, I think it's good. Do that. Close this. Okay, great. Now I happen to have Visual Studio Code already open. I'm in the middle of our participation 4 for Module 4. I started it like a week ago and still halfway through, so maybe I'll finish that up today, and so that we get that recording ready to go for Module 4. But otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and close these. I don't need them right now. And I'm going to go ahead and start up a new web page, and I'm going to File, Save As, and let's see. This, of course, is going into my 195, and I just need to give it a file name. I'm going to call it, what is my technique here for file names? Let me just move this off to the side. Here we go. I'm going to call it M04 underscore colorbar.html. Actually, colorbar is very descriptive. I'll call this a color palette.html. And we're going to be able to do what we do on any page we create, but I want to have a page here as an example. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in some basic content. This part isn't too important. Color palette. And of course, we are working on the 60-30-10 color rule. Perfect. Now, when I create this, I want to set it up so that it's very, very simple to apply, which means I'm going to use like a div with class equals colorbar1. Perfect. That's it. That's all I'm going to have on this page for right now, and just so we can kind of see how it works. And then I want to refer to a style sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and do a link, REL, relationship, style sheet, hyper reference equals styles slash M04 underscore color palette.html. Oh, .css. What am I doing? .css. There we go. And I started to screw up the head tag. All right, let's put that all back in business. Perfect. So I think that's it. That's all I want to have here. Let's see. I haven't created the CSS file yet, but let me go ahead and click my Go Live button since I'm on my HTML page. See how this looks on my web browser. By the way, the other day I switched over to make Brave my default web browser. I'm going to use Brave as my default for a few months, I think. Get back into this one. Oh, here's my web page. It's pretty blank. That is a blank web page. I don't even need a heading. My intention is not really to show this web page to anybody. My intention is to be able to take this div color bar and my style sheet and put that on some other web page. And I'll show you that in just a moment, of course. Okay, so now I need to do work on the CSS. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new file, and then I will File, Save As. And this is going to go into my 195 styles folder, and it's going to be called M04 for module 4 underscore, I already forgot what I'm supposed to call it, color palette .css. I think that's right. And of course, since I don't know if it's right, I'm going to go ahead and do body background color pink. And if my web page is pink, there you go. We know that my CSS file is properly connected. Let's see. Don't really need this. I'll close that. I'm going to zoom in a chunk on here so we can see things a little bit more clearly. Okay, so my external link is working the way it should, and I've got a div with class equals color bar 1 on my page somewhere in the body of the page. I'm not going to do any more HTML to this, am I? I guess technically I could. The div doesn't have to be empty. I might put something in here. Actually, I think I will. Yes, I will do that. So I'm going to do div times 3. I'm going to put 3 divs within my color bar. This will be good because then I can use these for the 60. I'll have each one for the 60, 30, 10 rule. And I don't even have to give them a class, but I could. Yeah, I should. Class equals, let's see, how about primary? Class equals secondary. Class equals accent 1 or accent. Now you may have noticed that on the PowerPoint slide, sometimes a secondary color might be a couple shades of the same color, and then it becomes, 15-15, not just you don't get more color out of it, but still 30%, but you can do like a lighter, darker for that secondary color, and it kind of still fits with the theme. So keep that in mind. I'm still just going to go with the basic 60, 30, 10 rule though. And I'm going to close this PowerPoint so it doesn't hog up too much of my computer's memory. All right, let's get to it now. So I think we're good here. In fact, I'm going to primary color, make it super clear what we're talking about. Secondary color, accent color. Excellent. All right, so color bar 1. Now I'm going to head over to my CSS. And pretty much everything we do from now on, in fact, I'm going to get rid of that body background. I don't need that color. Is all going to be in my color bar. Color bar 1. So I do dot color bar 1. And to start off, I want my color bar to kind of take up almost the full width of the page, as it probably should, but so that we can visualize it, I'm going to do border 2 pixels solid red. That's going to be a temporary border, and I'm going to set the width to be 90%, and I'm going to do margin 0 auto, and this is going to center the color bar horizontally. There we go. That's what that's going to do. And let's go ahead and give it a height. I'm going to do a fixed height on this one. I'm going to do a height of 160 pixels. Let's do 200 pixels. Make it nice and chunky. Well, let's see if we can see this color bar. And there it is right there. It's going to be that red bordered object. Okay. Now, dot color bar 1 space dot primary color. So my primary color bar, that's the div that's inside of my color bar. So I'm talking about this div right here. Let's see, I want it to be a width of 60%, and a background color of, and I'm looking over at my image, which is on my other screen, hashtag F7, F7, F2. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now for the height, actually I like to do width and height on the same line, so I'll just do it up here. The height I'm going to do 100%. So my color bar is going to be 200 pixels tall, and I want the primary color block in there to be as tall as that color bar. So I think that should be pretty good. It might be hard to notice, but let's see if we can see something. We can. It's this kind of this faint tan color right there, which, yeah, I find it rather pleasing. Okay, we're doing good. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Now we're not done here, but we're getting the hard part for sure taken care of. So we're also going to have a secondary color. I can spell secondary color. That width is going to be 30%, and that color is going to be E4, E6, C3. There we go. It's kind of like it's very similar, just kind of like a tan color. There it is right down there. Don't worry, we'll get them side by side soon enough, my friend. And then we have our accent color. Our accent color is only going to be 10%, and that's going to be pretty bright. That's that engineering orange. What is that? BA 1200. BA 1200. There we go. So there's that accent color down there. Now, by default, divs are block elements, and block elements want to be on separate lines. So I want to get my block elements side by side, all within this red bordered container. Very easy way to do that is to go up to the color bar, which is the parent, and I'm going to do display flex. This is going to make this a flex box parent. And then I'm going to do flex direction row. Technically, I don't think I needed to do this. I think it would have been in a row either way, but it gives me an opportunity to show you another CSS property. Puts the flex children in a row. So now when I look at this, we're going to see those colors are all side by side in that box. Pretty easy, right? I don't need that red border anymore. That red border has served its purpose. And yeah, there we go. That is our color bar. Now, still not done with it. I am going to go to this color bar, and I'm going to do position fixed. This is going to lock it into place, but then I have to say where I want it to be. I want it to be, how about 100 pixels from the top, and then 50% from the left. However, now it's going to look really funky. It's off to the right, you know, the left edge is right over here. So now I need to do this. Transform, translate X, negative 50%. I don't know if I want to explain that too much, but that'll put it back to where it needs to be. So basically, when you position fixed like this, you have to position it someplace based on the top or the left, bottom right, top right, whatever. But when you position, it's positioned based on the left corner of the block. Let me put that border back so I can visualize or show you what I'm talking about here. Border 2 pixels, solid red. So now we can really see that box again. Let me take out transform, translate. So the left edge of this is positioned 50% right there in the middle of the page. But now I want to move this entire rectangle over by negative 50%. Negative 50% means I'm moving it to the left, and the 50% here means 50% of the width of the color bar. This 50% for left is, on my line 13, is 50% of the width of the browser window, the viewport. So we have 50%, meaning two different things depending on its application. I know that's a little bit confusing, but that kind of gets us right there. Now you can't really tell on this page, but if I were to scroll this page up and down because it's got a lot of content, this bar would stay fixed right where it's at. So again, I'm going to get rid of that red border because that red border is not part of my colors. I just want to see the bar itself, just like that. And I think we're in pretty good shape. So how do we use something like this? Well, I'm going to open up a web page. I'm going to open up my, let's see, this is my 195 page. I think this is it. And let's see, let me go ahead and do dispose. I'm going to do a go live. This is the index for my 195 page. There we go. And let's see how this might be looking. Okay. Not too exciting, but I've got a few colors on here. I might have maybe got a little carried away with some accent color. Everything looks really big. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to Windows right arrow, make this a little smaller looking so we can kind of see it this way. I'm going to go back to my code, close this. I'm going to make my font a little smaller. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to head over to my, this is my index page, and I'm going to take the link tag that refers to my color palette. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to my index page, and I'm going to stick it right here. There we go. So now I've got the link tag to my color palette CSS on the index page. Doesn't do anything, but now what I can do is I can take the div color bar, copy that, go to my index page. I can stick it anywhere. I'll just put it right here at the very, very top. Paste. And it's going to put that color bar on there. And I see I need to fix something. I'm going to go to the CSS for my color bar, and I need to make sure that I do a big Z index. I'll do a Z index of 100, which will make sure that color bar is going to be on top of the web page. But check this out. On my web page now, I can scroll up and down, and that color bar is going to be fitted right there, and I can kind of see how it's looking. Now, of course, my index page is not using these particular colors. Okay, that's all right for now. It would be better if I was using those colors, but we can still use this superimposed color bar to kind of answer the question. Let's pretend for a moment that my primary color is this dark blue gray, the background. Yeah, I'm using that for big swaths of this website. I feel pretty good about that. Now, my secondary color, is probably going to be this navigation color, this kind of light blue, the color that I'm using for the text. All right, that's kind of that. And then my accent color. Now, for my site, my accent color is this bright yellow green. I could be a little bit heavy on that accent color, but I think it's not a bad example. So although my numbers might be a little bit off of 60, 30, 10, I think my home page is a reasonable example of the point I'm trying to illustrate. Let me head back over to my index page real quick. I'm going to take this color bar. I'll leave it on there, but I'll do this. Style equals display none. And that's going to hide it. So now I've got a feel for that. Okay, great. I can see what my primary color is, the dark blue gray. My secondary color is this lightish blue-green, whatever color that happens to be. And then my accent. So I think my accent is this bright yellow-green. But you notice I do have this red color on here for a little bit for this effect behind some of the lettering. I'm okay with that. It looks like basically I've got two accent colors. That's fair. You might say, well, gee, what if instead of that yellow, that orange-red for WebDev 1, what if you used the green there? Yeah, could probably do that. but I did want to have a slightly different, brighter red color. You'll notice on the hover effect too, that's where that red accent color. So I've got 2 accent colors. And you might say, you know what, the accent color, this bright yellow green on this circle, maybe it's a little bit too big. Maybe you need to ease up on that thing, right? Well, you can always experiment. You know, I could say, hey, you know, maybe that is a little bit too big. Where is it? It's right up here. So yeah, it's 40 pixels thick. What if it was only 20 pixels thick? You know, if the ring is smaller, that reduces my reliance on the accent color. And actually, that doesn't look that bad to me. I'm kind of happy with that. Do I go smaller? What if I tried something like 16 pixels? Okay, maybe so. So I'm relegating my accent to closer to that 10% ideal. Yes, I have another accent color, but who knows? Maybe with my little bit of red and my bright yellow green, together that's about 10%. Now, my secondary color should be 30%. Right now it's taking up it's the background of the nav and it's my text color. And yeah, that's probably not 30%, but it's probably 25%. And if I wanted to use this color more, maybe that's a color for my footer section down here. So I could figure out, okay, well, what is that color that I'm using as my nav background? It is right here, CEC. So I can find my footer styling and say, fine, I'm going to change the background color to CEC, and I can change the text color to 222. And so now I feel like, okay, that secondary color is used a little bit more, ties in the top part of the page with the bottom part of the page, and maybe I'm still following the rule. Do I need that border top? I don't know if I need that border top. I will comment it out in case I change my mind though. Okay, so now I can clearly see the footer section. I think that's a pretty good example. So I think that's all I really wanted to show you here. And of course I could go back and take away the display none. That's going to put my color bar back up on top, just so I can kind of look at it and get a feel for it. Now, although I do like the colors I used for my 195 index homepage, I like this new color palette that I picked. And so I do want to apply that to a website. I don't know if I'll apply it to a website here in Module 4, but I think very soon I'm going to be using this color palette on a website project, web page project. And yeah, and I'm going to follow, or do my best anyway, to follow the 60-30-10 color split. All right, thanks for your time, and I'll talk to you later.